your #1 tourist destination. Your home, away from home. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM, Busan 영어방송.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
Well, spring is here. We're in full bloom, are we not? And it is alluring everyone to go outside. And this includes international tourists as well as, foreign visitors who are once again they're becoming a fixture on the streets once again. And then we have public transportation and those local hotspots, right? Busan, the international tourism city, has been thirsty for these visitors during the pandemic years. But with the pandemic behind us, we can finally live up to this name. The flowers are blooming, and hopefully this means that the local tourism industry will blossom this spring as well. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Tuesday, April 2nd on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, everybody. Wavers out there, I hope you're all doing well. Past weekend, it's been so gorgeous lately outside, right? And the spring weather makes you want to kind of, turn your car around, maybe head to the beach or to the park instead of going to work this morning. And I even noticed yesterday in my afternoon classes, there were a couple of absences among students. And I thought to myself, it's that time of year. It happens every year, right when the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. Well, the city is certainly bustling with both locals and out-of-towners heading outside to enjoy the best of this season. So, what's the hottest hotspot in Busan during springtime? Well, Haeundae Beach still holding strong as the most visited spot. This is according to KT Big Data analyzed by the Busan Development Institute. On average, a little over 1 million people visited areas that are not their home. But Haeundae received 2.5 million daily visitors, followed by Seomyeon, Gwangalli, Santam City, and Daeyeondong. For locals, their top leisure activity was shopping, which brought more people to Santam City and Seomyeon. And there was an interesting age division here, with young people in their 20s and 30s preferring Seomyeon, whereas people in their 40s and 50s took their family to the coastal areas of Santam or Gijang. So while these are kind of classics when it comes to popular neighborhoods, there's also Myeongnyun, Geoje, and the Oncheon areas, which all follow the Oncheoncheon, that stream, right? And the Suyeong River. Popular cherry blossom spots that were, very popular always during springtime. And, this time around, I have no doubt that there will be many visitors in all of these areas. Now, for our topic today. What lesser-known local dish from your country or city do you want to recommend to visitors, to out-of-towners? Like, let's say you have friends visiting. And, when we talk about Busan, we always talk about like 밀면 and 돼지국밥, which are fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. But what are some of the lesser-known local dishes that you want to recommend to visitors? 자, 비빔밥, 갈비 등 너무 맛있지만 이거 말고도 이거 한번 좀 먹어봐, 잡숴봐. 외국인에게 추천해주고 싶은 음식이나 음식 콤보는 what is it, right? On the flip side, 외국인 listener 분들, if you're, obviously not a Korean native speaker, like, do I have to say it in Korean? Because I was thinking they probably don't know what I'm saying. So if you're a foreign national, right, then what would you recommend if you have, let's say, Korean listeners or Korean friends are going to visit you wherever you are, whether it's in the States or Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, wherever. What would you recommend? And not like just the staples, not the well-known ones, but the lesser-known ones. That's our question for today. So you can send in your responses to BFM's live stream, live chat on YouTube, pound 9050. That's going to cost you 101. You can also reach me for free on Kakao Talk or our app comment board. And there are so many different ways you can listen to us, or nowadays even watch us. So, of course, I already mentioned we're in live, right? In real time on YouTube. You can watch again on that platform. But we also have the Patbang app where you can listen at your leisure. Looking ahead to our Tuesday morning together, we have Andrew for Sports Insider. We also have Bonnie with The Health. And for special interview, we're going to tackle something, two topics. Quiet quitting, 4-day work week. Can a 4-day work week solve quiet quitting? And I have to say, it's so beautiful outside these days. I know our minds and maybe even our eyes are kind of like, just looking out the window, wishing we were outside, not working. So anyhow, we're going to visit this issue in hour number 2. I'll be back with today's headlines. The time is now 7:06. These are today's headlines. Government and doctors still at impasse over med school quota. President Yoon Suk-yeol called on doctors to come up with a unified proposal on the appropriate increase in medical school admissions, which the Korea Medical Association called a disappointment. North Korea reaffirms plans for multiple spy satellites this year. The announcement of the launch of the North's first spy satellite, Malligyong-1, into orbit in November of last year as the country is looking to boost space development. Arrest warrant sought for accomplices in voting station spy cam case. Police yesterday requested arrest warrants for 2 accomplices in the illegal camera installation case across 40 early voting stations ahead of the April 10th general elections. Government to provide 4-week specialized program for foreign domestic workers. This will apply to 100 foreigners on E9 visas and include education on Korean culture as well as training in domestic work and babysitting skills. Israel accused of deadly strike on Iranian consulate in Syria. At least 5 people, including a senior Revolutionary Guards commander, have been killed in an Israeli strike on the Iranian consulate building in Damascus. And these are today's headlines. Time for Busan Updates with Haley. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, don't you want to just ditch work sometimes?
Yeah.
So beautiful.
All the time?
All the time? No,
I kid.
Yes, her bosses aren't listening, hopefully. Right. Anyhow, what is a kind of a lesser-known local dish that you would recommend to out-of-towners? Do you have one in mind?
I have so many.
Okay.
Just gather around.
Okay.
Gaejang, whether the soy marinated crabs, the 간장 variety and yangnyeom variety.
Oh, sidebar,
Yeah.
sidebar. We want some, okay, I want to ask the listeners out there.
Wait, my mouth
I didn't
is
get
watering.
permission from my producer, but are you 간장게장 or 양념게장?
Oh my God. That's like mom or dad. Both.
But if you had to choose.
If I had to,
choose.
I would say 양념 is the safer option. I love 간장 more, but
Right.
sometimes it can be a little fishy depending on how fresh the crab
that's
is.
true. I know what
So
you're saying.
the spicy, the red sauce kind of can mask the
Any of the
any of the
fishiness,
fishiness.
yeah.
Right. Also, I'm telling you guys, I have so many more. Sikhae as dessert, but not just regular sikhae. If you go to the traditional markets, they'll
Yes.
sell it in the 2-liter, like the plastic bottles. 단호박, the butternut squash sweetened 식혜, the
That's a good
golden,
one.
yeah, that's liquid gold. Also, if you are going to the U.S.,
Okay.
Seattle, that's where my hometown, but like Western Coast, weirdly enough, they have really good pho.
Really?
That's the Vietnamese noodle soup.
Really?
The Vietnamese noodle soup from the States is the best that I've had. Like even, and I've been to Vietnam multiple times. No offense, like no shade, but that's just
Right,
what I
right.
was raised on. I think they just have more like ingredients in there. They just
I
use
see.
more meat. The portions are larger. So yeah, I'm saying Seattle's a great spot for Vietnamese noodle soup.
That is so funny. Ironic, but okay, we take your word for it. All right, let's jump into our first update. Early voting starts in just 3 days, with the actual election just, 8 days away now. So let's
Yeah.
get some local election updates.
Right. So yesterday, Busan City's Election Commission confirmed the 913 polling stations for the 22nd National Assembly elections. So almost all of these stations, about 98%, they're either on the first floor or have elevator access for
Right.
people with mobility problems. And you can check these specific locations on the NEC website at nec.go, .kr. Also, you should have by now gotten the election packets in the mail. That includes campaign literature as well as your voter registration information, the numbers, and where your polling station is. But if you haven't, that information is also available on the NEC website as well.
All right. So while we're on the topic of the elections, I want to address this group of voters that's posing concerns.
Right. So if you have a physical disability or mobility problem, once again, most stations are elevator accessible. But what about diminished mental capacity? Then you are, as a citizen, eligible to vote.
Yes.
But so this is an issue that's especially pertinent in Busan. Voters with dementia or Alzheimer's, usually with older people, degenerative illness, as being a super aged society and continuously aging, the number of people with these diseases is also on the rise. So according to the National Alzheimer's Center, there were roughly 57,000 suspected Alzheimer's patients in Busan, and that was in 2020. But jump to this year, that figure has spiked to 70,000. So that's a 28% increase in just a span of 5 years. And that figure is, of course, only expected to increase down the line. By the year 2030. It's expected to hit 100,000. So that means the ratio of voters, as we're talking about the election, with diminished mental capacities is also on the rise.
Yes. Well, what kind of assistance is there for these voters?
So the National Election Commission provides specialized voting equipment, videos, and photo material for people who may have trouble with conventional voting methods.
Sure.
And there was even a move from a local nursing home to install a polling station on its premises. However, the thing is, there are concerns of the patients getting hurt in just the process of voting because, on principle, only the voter must go into the polling booth alone.
Right.
So if a patient, usually older, has dementia or Alzheimer's, just that brief period of spending time in the voting booth alone, walking in and walking out, could pose risks. So that particular nursing home decided against setting up a polling booth. So experts say that it's a hard question. There's no immediate answer to it, but because just as a country as a whole, we are aging and aging rapidly,
Yes.
it is an issue that needs to be discussed.
That is true. Maybe something that we haven't really thought about, but we do
Right,
need to
right.
consider. All right, moving on. Busan City is looking to be an architectural center of the world with some innovative deregulatory measures.
Right, so Busan City is looking to encourage private companies to build creative structures via its special construction zone pilot program. So it's actually looking for applicants until June 7th, and it's essentially seeking to boost creative geniuses of global architects.
I
So
see.
to that end, the city will ease various building regulations. They'll even pay for parts of the administrative costs and expedite processes. And this is under the innovative plans for the 2030 Busan Architecture and City Design Plans. So they're looking to have buildings that will become landmarks to attract people from all over the world and kind of transform our skyline.
Yes.
And it'll come up with architectural standards that suit the needs of Busan specifically and continue to put up these creative and harmonious structures.
And that part, I think, harmonious is key as there is kind of this conflict over a new building project in Haeundae.
Right, so that's not only aesthetically going with the skyline, but also in consideration of the neighborhood that you're in. So there's this high-rise, so-called Silver Town, a fancy retirement home building that's planning to go up in this last bit of a prime real estate property in Marine City. But the thing is, it's facing opposition from the local elementary school and parents because it will be right next or across the street from that elementary school.
I see.
So Busan Office of Education just passed the education environment impact for this luxury retirement home. It's going to be on the 18,000 square meter plot of land, 2 buildings, each 73 stories. However, that means that the nearby Haewon Elementary School is getting another major building next to it, meaning a shadow cast over the school building. So that planned building is across from the school, but to the west of the school, there's a 48-story apartment. To the north, a 20-story commercial building. So the parents say that this 73-story building will further completely block out the sun. So the parents held a rally in front of the education office earlier this week. The students also sent in hand-drawn pictures and letters. And now that the assessment has passed, the parents will visit the education office later this week to lodge their complaints.
I see. Well, thank you so much for the local updates, Haley. And for now, though, let's get back to our text topic real quick. We're going to talk about as you, connoisseur of all the local dishes of your neighborhood or your country, what lesser known local dish from your country or city would you want to recommend to visitors? So if you're in Korea, I would assume it's Korean food, or maybe not, right? If you're abroad, what would you recommend if someone from Korea were to visit you? 자, 우리 너무 유명한 음식들이 많잖아요. We have the bibimbap, we have the galbi, the japchae. That's all very well known. 하지만 너무 맛있어요. 근데 이거 꼭 잡숴봐. 꼭 먹어보세요. 하고 싶은 음식, 외국인에게 추천해주고 싶은 음식이 뭘까요? 특히 음식 콤보. Something maybe unexpected. Well, you can send in your messages. And in the meantime, here's our traffic and weather. Well, let's get to our traffic first. There is a cargo truck broken down on the Namhae Expressway 2, coming into Busan by the Seobusan toll gate. There's traffic building up on Gwanmun-daero from Bangeum Tunnel to Baekyang Tunnel. Also, congestion detected on Runo-Samsung-daero from Myeongji Underpass to Shinho Bridge. As for the weather, continuing the warm streak from yesterday, the daytime high will go up to 21 degrees Celsius under partially cloudy skies. The clouds will start rolling in from the afternoon, and we're going to have some overcast skies. The current temperature sits at 8 degrees Celsius. So as you can tell, from 8 degrees to 21 degrees, you're going to have to be prepared for a big temperature difference so you don't catch a cold. This was your traffic and weather.
Check this out.
This is Morning Wave in Busan.
Everybody, wait a minute.
This is Morning Wave.
Morning Wave.
You are listening to
Morning Wave.
Morning Wave in Busan.
What show is this?
This is Morning Wave in Busan.
Here we go.
Morning Wave in Busan.
All right, everybody, it's now time for News Digest. We have Haley back in the studio.
Hi again.
Yes. So first, let's dive into this one. The president addressed the public, and he spoke about the ongoing medical reform, the plan, and the doctors' walkout.
So basically, the message is the government is open to other more rational proposals, but for now, they're standing firm on the 2,000 figure for the medical school expansion. So President Yoon Suk-yeol called it the minimum necessary increase. So Yoon said that his bigger concern is that even with the 2,000-person increase, it'll actually be another decade before the newly trained doctors actually join the workforce. In the meantime, the country's aging is getting older and older. But he said he was open to negotiations if the medical side can bring about a more rational measure. And he did. So yesterday's speech wasn't really there to provide kind of a breakthrough olive branch, but more of providing evidence to the government's figures. So he stated that in the last 27 years, 90% of the public has called for, or at least were in agreement with the medical reform. However, no administration has been able to do that, losing 9 out of 9 times. And he stated that these are desperate times and a crisis for democracy. And then following this, the doctors issued a statement of condemnation, including the KMA's president-elect, Im Hyun-taek, who basically said that no comment is his official comment, that he basically deemed it not worth responding to. Also, the former KMA president, No Hwan-gyu, called the president's comments false and a lie and an abuse of power. So after a strong pushback, the presidential office actually tried to go back a little bit and put out the fires. An official from the president office went on to media interviews, emphasizing that once again, if a better proposal is given, the government is willing to change their policy.
But this is a bit of a difference in the beginning. There was just like, okay, we're digging our heels in for the government side.
2,000 is, that's
it.
the...
Right. So we'll see what happens. But for now, though, we're going to move on to mental health for our next story. Excuse me, especially among young people.
Right. So this is according to the Health Insurance Review and Assessment Service. The number of depression patients for the year 2022, that's the latest figure, it came to over 1 million. And that's a 33% increase from the year 2018. So that number itself is noteworthy, is newsworthy. But what was even more notable was the age group. So people in their 20s and 30s accounted for nearly 36% of the total figure of people with depression. So experts say, usually mental health and physical health are usually closely tied together.
Right.
So usually people in their prime, 20s to 30s, they do feel better emotionally. However, this decline in mental well-being of that age group, that's supposed to be the most active, the most healthy, that means that the society and its economy, they're losing their vitality. And experts also point to social media as a cause for aggravating anxiety amongst people.
But one positive note, if there is any, is that the government, both central and local, are working to remedy this issue.
Right. So mental health is becoming more and more of a policy priority in both local and central governments.
Yes.
So for instance, the Ministry of Health provides support for counseling for young people. So you actually only have to pay just 6,000 or 7,000 won out of pocket.
Okay.
And for here, Busan City has this Youth 마음이음, the Mind Connection program for people between the ages of 18 and 34. And under this, one person can get up to 7 counseling sessions. So definitely look into it. I have also read that springtime actually leads to a spike in depression and even suicidal thoughts because kind of more of a comparison issue once again on social media. You see the flowers and people having fun, but you don't really feel up to it.
Yes.
So definitely be cognizant of the issues and seek help.
For our next story, it's going to be an international one. This is not shaping up to be a good week for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So let's take a look at what's been happening.
Right. So on Sunday local time, it was the second day of anti-government protests that took place across Israel. So protesters they're divided, actually. One side demanding his resignation and an early election, as well as calls for an immediate deal to free the 134 Israeli hostages that are still held in Gaza. Of course, we don't know how many may be still alive at this point.
Right.
But also on the streets were pro-Benjamin Netanyahu supporters who say that their fellow Israelis have kind of lost perspective and forgotten that the real enemy is Hamas, not the Israeli government. And then as all of this is going on in the streets, Netanyahu actually underwent hernia surgery, which he was diagnosed with during a routine examination over the weekend. So he was put under anesthesia and that meant that the country's deputy prime minister and the justice minister were in power temporarily because he was, once again, not conscious at the time.
Right.
So the surgery went well, according to his office, and Netanyahu will return to work, quote, very quickly, although we don't know when. But this is his second surgery since he took back power in late 2022, and the last one was actually kind of a major health scare that resulted in him getting a pacemaker, so that was a heart issue.
Right. So the possible woes for Netanyahu apparently are not over, as he may lose the support of Orthodox Jews. So you got to explain this one.
Right. So last week, the Israeli Supreme Court ruled that ultra-Orthodox Jewish men may no longer be exempt from the military draft and gave Netanyahu until Monday local time to present a plan, and that'll have to be passed before June. So ultra-Orthodox Jews, since basically the foundation of Israel, they've been tasked with keeping the Jewish faith and tradition with their Torah studies, therefore exempt from the conscription. However, with the war against Hamas continuing now on for 6 months, the opposition political parties have called for reforms to bring these men into service rather than burdening the current army and the current military forces even more.
Sure.
So here's the thing, though. Politically, Netanyahu depends on the support of the ultra-Orthodox lawmakers to hold on to his power currently. So going back to full circle, the public has been gathering, calling for his resignation. So he actually does need to hold on to the farther right side.
Yes. So it's been a busy week for him. I think that's an understatement.
Right.
All right. Lastly, we're going to go to California, where the state has implemented, I think it's kind of eye-popping on many different levels, an eye-popping minimum wage for fast food workers. And okay,
we
gotta
both
talk about
worked
this.
minimum wage jobs.
Yes.
Decades ago. Do you remember how much your minimum wage
Okay, this is
salary
going to
was?
date me, but I remember when I started working second year of high school, I think the going rate, if I'm not mistaken, it was somewhere around $4.50.
Yeah.
And then I was really happy because my first job was paying $5.
Right.
So it was above minimum wage to wear that ridiculous hot dog outfit. It's kind of, there's a reason why you're getting paid an extra 50 cents.
Yeah, it's for your dignity.
Yeah, because I guess my dignity was only worth 50 cents an hour. But
Hey, when you're 16, it is.
It all adds up.
Mine was $7.
Okay.
And I worked in Washington State, Seattle, which it was more liberal, and they usually have higher minimum wage than
right.
others. So starting April 1st, fast food workers in California will be paid, get this, at least $20 per hour. That is 24,000원.
Per hour.
So Democrats in this heavily Democratic-controlled state legislature passed a law last year. That was an acknowledgement that many of the over 500,000 people who do work in the fast food industry, they're not teenagers, but they are adults who are breadwinners of the family, and they do need to make money.
Okay.
Also in recognition of the fact that California is a ridiculously expensive state to live in. I mean, this is home to Silicon Valley.
Right.
Where 6-figure, 7-figure salaries are far too common, raising prices.
So when you look at this issue on the surface, you're thinking, wow, this is really good. You're giving, workers not just a minimum wage, but more of a livable wage, right? But aren't there concerns about this leading to a hike in the products and in the long term, inflation? Because I remember, what was it like? I forgot which state. I think it was New Hampshire. The Golden Arches establishment, like a set menu or a combination meal, as you say in the States, it was going for more than $18.
Exactly. So the concern is that immediately employers will be forced to raise prices to make up for the higher wages, or if they can't let go of the workers or at least cut back on their hours.
Right.
Here's the thing, though. Over the past decade, California has doubled its minimum wage for most workers to $16 per hour. And, a concern over that time was whether the increase would cause workers to lose their jobs. Instead, data shows that wages went up and employment did not fall. But keep in mind that once again, the minimum wage already was $16 per hour. Even larger cities had a higher minimum wage, so they're not really pushing it by that much.
Okay.
Not that much is key. So there are experiments going on. So about a decade ago, Seattle raised their minimum wage to $15 per hour.
Yes.
Overall, so it's been about 10 years, workers did see a reduction in their hours, but it was made up by the fact fact that minimum wage was now $15. So we're kind of still in the experimental stage. So
Yes.
we will once again have to see.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for us for now. So we're going to take a short song break right now. Is that correct? Yes? Okay, so here it is. Oh, by the way, thank you, Haley.
Oh, thank you. I'll
I
see you
forgot
in
to
a
say
bit.
thank you. All right, that was Haley. Here's our first song. This is Troublemaker, Ollie Murs featuring Flo Rida.
You're a troublemaker, troublemaker. You ain't nothing but a troublemaker, girl.
You had me hooked again from the minute you sat down. The way you bite your lip got my head spinning around. After a drink or two, I was putty in your hands. I don't know if I'll have the strength to stand. Oh, troublemaker, yeah, that's your middle name. Oh, I know you're no good, but you're stuck in my brain. And I wanna know, why does it feel so good but hurt so bad? My mind keeps saying run as fast as you can. I say I'm done, but then you pull me back. Whoa, I swear you're giving me a heart attack. Troublemaker, it's like you're always there in the corners of my mind. I see a silhouette every time I close my eyes. There must be poison in those fingertips of yours, 'cause I keep coming back again for more. Oh, troublemaker, yeah, that's your middle name. Oh, I know you're no good, but you're stuck in my brain. And I wanna know, why does it feel so good but hurt so bad? My mind keeps saying run as fast as you can. I say I'm done, but then you pull me back. Whoa, I swear you're giving me a heart attack. Troublemaker, why does it feel so good but hurt so bad? My mind keeps saying run as fast as you can. Troublemaker, I say I'm done, but then you pull me back. Whoa, I swear you're giving me a heart attack. Troublemaker.
Now maybe I'm insane, 'cause I keep doing the same damn thing, thinking one day we gon' change. But you know just how to work that back and make me forget my name. What the hell you do, I won't remember. I'll be gone until November, and you show up again next summer, yeah. Typical middle name is Prada. Picture like a glove, girl, I'm sick of the drama. You're a troublemaker, but damn girl, it's like I love the trouble, and I can't even explain why.
Why does it feel so good but hurt so bad? Whoa, my mind keeps saying run as fast as you can. I say I'm done, but then you pull me back. Whoa, I swear you're giving me a heart attack. Troublemaker, why does it feel so good but hurt so
And I can't even
bad?
explain why.
My mind keeps saying run as fast as you can. Troublemaker, I say I'm done, but then you pull me back. Whoa, I swear you're giving me a heart attack. Troublemaker.
Welcome back, everybody. It's now 7:32, and we are talking about tourism in Busan. And what's travel without food, right? One of the country's biggest card companies analyzes spending patterns of foreign visitors based on their travel and food purchases. And of the 11 million foreign visitors to Korea, 7.2% of the 7 trillion won they spent in the country was in Busan, with October being the most popular month. Haeundae was the most popular neighborhood for global visitors, followed by Seomyeon and Nampo. And can we guess the most popular food? Well, not really surprising. Korean barbecue. Over 20% of food spending went to galbi and samgyeopsal. And interestingly, cafes and bars were the second most popular spots for food-related spending. So experts analyze that foreign visitors to Korea base their visits on social media reviews and content. And this points to the direction of promotions for Busan to the global audience. So they're gonna, have to use this information and use it for the benefit of our city. That's the thinking. And hence, here is our topic. What lesser known local dish from your country or city do you want to recommend to out-of-town visitors? For people who are new, what would you recommend? So you cannot say things like 갈비, 삼겹살, bibimbap. Those are kind of like staples now. Everybody knows what they are. And, you know, people know what they taste like. So what would you recommend? 자, 너무 맛있는 게 많잖아요. 우리나라 음식들 중에서. 너무 맛있지만 이거 말고라는 거는 뭐 비빔밥, 삼겹살, 갈비 말고도 이거 한 번쯤은 꼭 먹어보세요 하고 싶은 음식, 외국인에게 추천해주고 싶은 음식이나 음식 콤보는. And flip side, if you're, obviously living abroad, let us know what you would recommend to us. So let's get to some of your yummy comments. All right. So as I scroll the board, lots of people commenting on how beautiful it is. And that is true. With the cherry blossoms, we're going to have to enjoy it while it lasts because I think they're going to go soon. They are. Yes. Well, Leslie, obviously not here right now, but she was in Busan recently. In Colorado, she says, we have Colorado pork green chili. Ooh, made specifically with the Pueblo green chili pepper. I know what that is. Ooh, that is so good. And then they have the Rocky Mountain oysters, which are fried bull testicles, really? And beer. So many microbreweries here. Really? They're that? And so we have comments like, really? That? Testicles? Well, anyhow, that is Leslie's take. We have Junwon. Junwon, you're back. You said yesterday you were gone. But anyhow, yes, it was April Fool's Day. I recommend the 도깨비 hot dog. It's a hot dog with potato, the potato cubes that are attached, right? And I'm sure that foreigners who only know French fries will go crazy for it. Because, I mean, think about it. You have a corn dog, right? A hot dog, the corn dog, and then you have the potato attached. Yeah, it's so crunchy. And all the corn dogs and hot dogs, like, as Haley said, with a cheese inside. And I heard that, like, I got used to it, but then, like, whenever I see foreigners, they're kind of puzzled. At the hot dog stand, they see the sugar, and they're kind of puzzled by that. Because, like, in the States, we don't put sugar on the hot dogs, right? But anyhow, it's so delicious. So getting so hungry. What about this one? From 최윤정 Waver, 닭강정 추천해드립니다. 닭강정. Everybody's like salivating at this point. Well, I will definitely get to more of your messages. But in the meantime, I'll be back with Hot Clip. For today's Hot Clip, it is spring, and we are enjoying everything that is lush and green. Well, however, in Germany, apparently, according to this new law, adults can enjoy something else. Here's a clip from this story, and this is from ABC News.
Adults in Germany will soon be allowed to carry, grow and store cannabis after the government decriminalised recreational use of the drug. It follows Malta and Luxembourg, who legalised recreational use of the drug in recent years.
This security door is the same type used to protect Germany's gold reserve. But at this facility, is securing green gold. Here they grow cannabis for medical use.
Right now it's not psychoactive, so if you would just eat the plant right now, you would not get high.
But a new law decriminalising possession and home cultivation means they soon hope to expand their business.
Now we are allowed to grow more cannabis, which we can then also sell directly to the pharmacies. And the second part, which is very important to the patients, is that cannabis now is declassified. It's not a narcotic product anymore, which means that any doctor can now prescribe it.
From the 1st of April, adults will be allowed to possess up to 25 grams of the drug in public, hold 50 grams at home, and grow a maximum of 3 plants.
Here we show the whole plant. There's seeds in here because this is for seed production.
From July, private cannabis clubs can supply 500 members on a limited basis. Stefan is one of those who's been campaigning for legalization, a director of Berlin's Hemp Museum, and sees the new law as a partial victory.
It's not the law we expected, but it's a good law because we will have 180,000 less prosecutions in the next year. There will be a big relief for cannabis consumers if you can have 25 grams of cannabis with you without being in fear of arrest, in fear of problems with the police.
But there are restrictions. For example, you have to be over 18 and can't smoke around areas including playgrounds and sports centres. The potency will also be limited.
So as you heard in that clip, this is, first of all, a very much debated new law. But yeah, adults over 18 are now allowed to carry 25 grams of dried cannabis and cultivate up to 3 marijuana plants at home. So this change leaves Germany with some of the most liberal cannabis laws in Europe, alongside, as you heard in the clip, Luxembourg and Malta. And the Netherlands, known for its permissive kind of attitude to the drug, has in recent years taken a stricter approach to counter cannabis tourism. That being said, remember, here in Korea, the laws are very, very strict regarding any type of cannabis use. So just wanted to remind you, and this was your hot clip for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is time for Sports Insider. We have Andrew in the house. Good morning.
Good morning. How are things?
I'm okay. So, are you okay with the mic?
I was just fixing it.
Was
there,
it so
Haley,
low?
sorry.
Oh, yeah. Too low because, you know.
And that was not a joke at all. It was just
fact?
low. Yeah. It was just
Okay.
fact.
So, today we're talking about food.
Yes.
Okay, so for you, it's going to be two-pronged.
Okay.
Number one, as a native Canadian.
Sure.
And then secondly, as I consider you like half Korean, so
Sure, definitely. All right.
because you've been here for so long.
100%.
Transplant. So, what would you recommend to out-of-towners? So, if you were in Canada and you were inviting somebody to Canada who's never been to Canada.
Or never been to Korea.
Yeah, or Korea. What would you recommend food-wise?
I don't know. Obviously, you're going to get the usual suspects and, as people would say, K-barbecue or whatnot. So, that kind of
Not
stuff.
that.
But obviously, that's going to be a no-brainer. If they've never had Korean fried chicken, I guess that would be a big one. Because if you're not from a big city, like in the United States or in Canada, you probably never had it. So I would say that.
That's true.
It's one of the biggest things sweeping the U.S. right now.
Yes,
is
it
Korean
is.
fried chicken, and it's
so
Korean
crunchy
fried
and so
chicken
good.
sandwich shops. It's they're everywhere. So that there, but I guess that would be if you're going out and you're going to have some drinks, you're probably going to come across that anyway.
Yeah.
I would say for me, one of the biggest things and I didn't like this in the beginning, and now I do.
Yes,
I
yes,
really
yes.
love it.
What is it?
Cold noodles. So like milmyeon. So milmyeon would be something that I think that would be very foreign for people from where I'm from anyway.
No, I agree.
A cold noodle dish.
Cold noodles, the
Yeah,
texture.
sure.
Right, but it's so good.
It'd be like the first time people have like gazpacho or something like that,
Right.
like a cold soup, and they'd be like,
what?
What is this? I would say that. Maybe, I don't really know. I'm trying to think of something that's like way
you know
off.
what was like way off? Like I've never had it before I came to Korea. Chokbal.
Yeah, I guess and that's also an acquired taste because
Yeah, because the idea of it in the beginning, I was just like, no, I'm not having that.
and it's quite chewy. It can
Right.
be quite chewy if you have like I don't want to call it an end piece, but you know what I mean.
The exterior end piece, yeah. I know what you mean. The collagen.
The actual heel. I don't know if that's what you would say. But,
Right.
or just street food in general. Be open-minded. I mean, and also if if you can handle some spice, maybe try some of the spiciest tteokbokki you can or things like that. But
Okay, we're going to stop you because...
Shiat hot dog. That has to be the other one for Busan.
Oh,
because the rest of the country's hot dog is mid.
Mid.
Yeah, is mid. But if you're from Busan, you know.
You know.
The shiat
If
hot
you
dog
know,
is where
you
it's at.
know.
Exactly.
Yes. And he's not cursing. It's shiat, the seed.
Shiat hot dog. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
right.
The seeds.
Not something else. All right.
I was like, because that's the first hot dog I ever had. And then when someone else was like, oh, we were in Seoul in Myeongdong, and they're like, let's get some hot dog. And I was like, oh, cool. And they gave me that big puffed up thing or whatever. I said, what is this?
You're like, this is a disgrace.
This is not what I expected. Anyway, so we're going to get started with some sports here. And we're going to go over to the U.S. and we're going to be talking about the newest Korean playing in the MLB. Now, obviously, you know, the MLB was here in Korea, and we were talking about Kim Il-sung and, you know,
So
Ohtani
popular,
and all this stuff. Yeah, it was huge. Now, we're going to be talking about Kim Il-sung of the San Diego Padres against Lee Jong-hoo of the San Francisco Giants. They went toe-to-toe for the first time, and it was a 4-day game, like a series, you know, which is pretty amazing. There are plenty of highlights, but we're going to get to what I think is probably the biggest highlight, and there's a little extra clip at the end for our listeners.
Okay, here we go.
Let's take a listen.
A phenomenal career in Korea, much like his father. His father's nickname, his father was an MVP in Korea about 30 years ago. His father's nickname was Son of the Wind. He was a speedster, stole a ton of bases, caused havoc on the base paths. Lee can crank him deep to right field. Back goes Tatis, long gone, and there is the first Major League home run for Jung-Hoo Lee. And there is the Son of the Wind watching the grandson of the Wind round the bags for his first big league shot.
Hey, you want to say something for this one? 한마디 하고 할래, 정우야? I love you.
I love that.
Yeah, so that was a call of Lee Jong-hoo's first career home run. That was from MLB.com. And the clip at the end was, you know, people, if you're wondering what's going on, it's really funny. I got to set the scene for you. Lee Jong-hoo is in what I could put as like a laundry cart, if you will. He's sitting in one. He's been wheeled into the shower in the clubhouse. And that's his translator. They asked, do you have anything to say? His translator asked him. And his response was, I love you. And then he had a beer shower after his first career home run. And, you know, he's I don't want to say he's been on fire, but he's been hitting the ball very, very well.
Yes.
It'd be pretty interesting to see how he is for the rest of the season. Now, also, Kim Il-sung, he hit a 3-run homer on Sunday to, you know, I mean, it was a 13-4 win for the Padres. So it was a 2-2 series split. Now, the two will see each other. I believe it's at the beginning of next month or the end of this month. But then they won't see each other for a while. But it was interesting after he hit that home run. Of course, you want your first home run. You want that ball back, right?
Yes.
So they got in touch. They found the family, the kid that caught it, brought him down to the clubhouse, and he signed a bunch of balls for the kid.
And said, can I get it back?
He got his ball back.
Okay.
But then it's funny, the family, they've recently, you know, moved to San Diego, and their favorite player is Kim Il-sung. And he said, I'm going to go out for dinner with him after this game, and then he was going to try to set something up for the family as well.
How sweet is that?
Which is
Can
pretty
you
cool.
imagine if the boy was like, no, you cannot have my ball?
Yeah. So I don't know. He got his ball, which is kind of cool. I don't know if they gave him something else or some tickets
that's so
or something.
sweet.
But yeah, pretty cool.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm sure that's not the last. We're going to hear about these two about
Hopefully not.
this season. Well, do we want to talk about the KBO?
Hey, come on now. Come on. Yes, we got to talk about the KBO.
Okay.
So the Lotte Giants were in town this past weekend for their home opening series against the NC Dinos. Now, things got off to a pretty good start on Friday night. The home team picking up their first win of the season with Aaron Wilkerson on the mound. Unfortunately, things didn't go that well for the rest of the weekend. Saturday was an 8-0 loss. And Sunday actually started off quite terribly. I have to be honest, I turned the game off. And then my son said, hey, the game's on. I turned it back on. It was still 5-0 for NC, but Lotte battled back. Got it to 7-7. It went to extra innings, and they lost in extra innings. But what a way to battle back. Now, the team is away for the midweek games this week in Daejeon, taking on the Hanwha Eagles and Ryuhyun-jin. And actually, it's kind of interesting. The Eagles, who were at the basement for the past probably 3 seasons, they haven't lost since the first game of the season when Ryuhyun-jin lost at the home opener in Daejeon. And then they are going to be back this weekend at Sajik to take on the Doosan Bears. Now, a bit of a PSA here for listeners who are heading out to the ballpark this weekend. the time changes for the games. So don't think everything's at the same time. 6:30 on Friday, 5 o'clock on Saturday, and 2 o'clock on Sunday.
Oh, goodness.
So that's something, I know there was people who were going to the stadium on Sunday, and they just assumed it was going to start at 5 o'clock. It didn't. It was at 3. So it's kind of changed each day just because of the weather at the moment.
Yes.
And that's just the way it is.
Yes, yes.
Now, some other news in the KBO. A former Lotte Giant, Kang Min-ho, is at 38 years old, which makes me feel much older because I remember him playing his first games for Lotte.
Sure.
He took the lead in career games for the KBO. Kang Min-ho has now played, well, probably more than this because this was last Thursday.
Yes.
2,238 games in the KBO.
Wow.
And I'm going to say he's going to add to this tally because he's still got another 2 years left on his contract. I'm not sure if he's going to keep playing as much as he has, but he has played over 100 games in every season he's played except for 2, which is unbelievable.
Right,
unbelievable.
right.
So congrats to him as a former Lotte Giant. So, but don't play well against Lotte. Please don't.
Right, but where are we in the standings? Do we even know?
9th. We're 9th. Moving on. Moving on.
9th.
Yeah, moving on.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the Premier League because there were some big games over the weekend.
Some big and some boring games, but we'll leave that one for the last.
That Man City Arsenal game.
Yeah, it was awful. So Tottenham took on Luton Town, which kind of got off on the wrong foot.
Always. The first half is just like, it's bizarro world. I turned it off.
They look for a challenge, I think.
I don't know what it is. They enjoy the come from behind win? Because I was so disgusted. I turned it off.
It was pretty ridiculous.
And then I was just like, no, I got to see what's going on. So in the second half, I turned it back on. And thank goodness I did.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And Sonny got another goal, which is pretty awesome. In other games in the league here, Liverpool, a 2-1 winner over Brighton, which put them to the top of the table.
Yes.
But they would have to wait and see what happened in that big game on Sunday night between Manchester City and Arsenal.
I don't care. That was so boring.
It was what everyone would like to call a snooze fest.
It was so boring.
It was terrible. So 0-0, that one finished. So if we look at the standings right now, Liverpool are on top with 67 points.
Deserved.
Arsenal was 65 and Man City at 64. Still, everyone's wondering who's going to win the league. It is a title race.
It is.
Also, the fight for the final
fourth spot
for the Champions League. But there is a chance that the Premier League may be awarded the fifth spot,
right? So.
And Tottenham would be in there, pretty much a shoe-in because Manchester United are way off the pace on that one. So hopefully they can get that fifth spot, and then Tottenham would get in on that one. But down at the bottom of the table, we're looking at Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield United bringing up the basement here. Nottingham Forest are right there as well. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens because that's actually just as close as the top. So
yes. Well, let's shift gears and go to the LPGA.
Yeah, usually when we talk about the LPGA, I'm talking about another win for the Korean contingent on the tour.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's not the case this week, and it hasn't been the case yet this season.
Right.
7 tournaments without a win for Korea on tour. And I say Korea because that's how they're known on tour.
Because there are so many elite top world-class players. But then I have to say, I'm a fan of, this hot streak.
Yes. So,
Nelly Korda.
Yeah, exactly. So that is because Nelly Korda is on an absolute heater.
Yes.
All right. So 3 tournaments in a row. Now, actually, they're not in a row. They're in a row that she's played.
That she's played in, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So for her, they call them starts. So
she played in the Drive-On Championship back in January. She took a 7-week break and then came back and won the Park City tournament that was last weekend in California. And then won this past weekend as well, the Ford Championship. And she doesn't look like she's slowing down. There was a couple of hiccups throughout the weekend, but she's
laser focused right now.
Yeah, put it right
Especially
into
that
overdrive.
Last day, final day.
But then we got to look at the Korean women on tour as well.
Yes.
They're still there or right thereabouts. So actually, Lee Mi-hyung was tied for 3rd in this past weekend's tournament, and Kim Hyo-ju was tied for 8th. So the ladies are in the mix, but with the LPGA, as for the men's tour as well, you can't mess up. You
There were some misses I watched.
you have a few
Yes.
bogeys, and that's your tournament. You know, so you got to be laser focused, as you said,
And
and
you
it
can't
looks like
miss those short putts.
yeah,
Yes.
you know, on the green is where it's at. So congrats
Yes.
to Nelly Corda. Hopefully the Korean ladies can pick up the slack here and get a few wins in the next couple of events.
All right. Thanks for the roundup for sports. We'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Andrew.
Have a good one.
All right. And now it is time to address the elephant in the room. Yes, she is really gone. So here's a song, She's Gone by Steelheart.
She's gone out of my life. I was wrong. I'm to blame. I was so untrue. I can live without the love. And my life is just an empty space. All my dreams are lost. I'm wasting away. Forgive me, girl. Won't you save me? My heart belongs to you. Lady, can you forgive me for all I've done to
Your Race to the World.
앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
오늘 부산 지역 미세먼지 농도
Air quality in Busan is currently rated
High fine dust concentrations are
Taking a look at the fine dust level is getting higher. So, this is what we can do to protect ourselves from the growing level of fine dust. First, check out the fine dust level before you go out and make sure to wear a mask when the fine dust level is high. Also, don't forget to wash your hands when you return home. Even if the fine dust is not visible, it doesn't mean your hands are clean enough. Lastly, follow the alternate no driving system to reduce the fine dust from cars. These are very simple yet powerful ways to protect ourselves from the fine dust. Let's all take part in this campaign and stay healthy. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM, 부산영어방송.
보이스피싱 전화 올 땐 전화 끊고 확인하기. 택배 주소 오류 사기, 인터넷 주소 클릭 안 돼.
늘 의심하고 꼭 전화 끊고 또 확인하고
보이스피싱에 눈을 뜨며
예방책이 보입니다.
공익광고협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
It's morning.
And what a lovely morning.
dynamic Busan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, Shelly.
What show is this?
Hello.
Hello, baby.
Hey, buddy.
Hello, everybody.
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now 8 o'clock, and this is news highlights. Government and doctors still at impasse over med school quota. President Yoon Suk-yeol called on doctors to come up with a unified proposal on the appropriate increase in medical school admissions. Addressing the public yesterday, the president said the government will be open to talks, although it believes a hike of 2,000 is the minimum. The Korea Medical Association, or KMA's emergency committee, released a statement expressing its disappointment, saying that the address did not reflect the requests of the medical field at all. This all happened on the day medical school professors had warned to reduce work hours to 52 hours per week, but most professors kept their posts with no major changes reported on the scene. North Korea fires ballistic missile. North Korea fired a ballistic missile into the East Sea, said the South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff this morning. The military is analyzing the missile's distance, trajectory, and speed. This comes 15 days after their previous provocation. And this also follows the North's announcement from yesterday to push for space development and plans to launch multiple reconnaissance satellites this year. In the meantime, Seoul's military said that it has not detected any imminent signs of preparations for a military parade in North Korea ahead of two major holidays, the birthday of founder Kim Il-sung and founding anniversary of the Korean People's Revolutionary Army this month. Arrest warrants sought for accomplices in voting station spy cam case. Police yesterday requested arrest warrants for two accomplices in the illegal camera installation case across 40 early voting stations ahead of the April 10th general elections. The police apprehended a man in his 70s and a woman in her 50s as accomplices of the YouTuber in his 40s already under arrest. They are known to be his subscribers. The police suspect them of helping the man install cameras in 6 spots in Yangsan. The suspect said that he wanted to check the number of early voters, claiming that there had been discrepancies in the numbers. Government to provide 4-week specialized program for foreign domestic workers. According to the Labor Ministry yesterday, 100 foreigners on E-9 visas from the Philippines and other countries will undergo the 4-week program sponsored by the Human Resources Development Service of Korea after they receive a 3-day job training. The program is set to include education on Korean culture, as well as training in domestic work and babysitting skills. The workers will be able to receive a certain amount of training allowance that does not exceed the 150% upper limit of the minimum wage. The ministry's move comes after it earlier announced plans to expand specialized job training and programs on industrial safety by types of industry amid a surge in demand. Israel accused of deadly strike on Iranian consulate in Syria. At least 5 people, including a senior Revolutionary Guards commander, have been killed in an Israeli strike on the Iranian consulate building in Syria's capital, Damascus, Iran's ambassador says. Iran and Syria's foreign ministers condemned the attack, which destroyed a multi-story building next to the consulate. The Israeli military said it did not comment on foreign media reports. This is seen as a signal from Israel to increase pressure on their enemies, Iranians and Hezbollah, to see if they will push back. This was News Highlights. It's time for issue waglwa글. That means Haley's back.
Hello again.
Yes. Well, first, it seems like everybody and anybody seems to have his or her their own opinion about a teacher that was found guilty of child abuse.
Right. So listeners, I want your input on this. This happened back in 2022, but the court ruling came down yesterday.
Okay.
So back then, a 9-year-old boy was fighting with another student, and he threw a rock at the student. At that point, the PE teacher stepped in and tried to stop the fight, but the kid said, "So what?" In Korean, that's 어쩌라고요. Yeah, so that's so the teacher got angry, but here's where the things got even more problematic. He grabbed the student by his collar, so like the 멱살, and dragged him towards the class by his collar. The child started crying. He threw the teacher's hands off and sat down in his chair. At that point, the teacher, still angry, kicked the child's chair and raised his hand. Presumably, we don't know because that's where the situation stopped, whether he was trying to hit him or just pretending to hit him. So at this point, the homeroom teacher who was in the classroom saw this and intervened and reported the case.
So how did the court rule on the matter?
So Ulsan Regional Court found the teacher guilty of child abuse, sentencing him to 8 months in prison with a 2-year probation, as well as an employment restriction in child-related institutions, meaning since he was an elementary school teacher, he is out of a job. So the teacher said that he grabbed the child's hand, so he actually did not claim that he did not grab the child by the collar, and he also never kicked the chair, but witness statements from the other students do not corroborate this. The teacher also refused to apologize to the child and his parents. So the judge stated that the teacher did not control his emotions and perpetrated physical abuse upon the child in front of others, and this did not qualify as discipline, but rather it was abuse.
Oh, so this is one of those kind of...
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a tough one.
The 어쩌라고요 would really...
It would really irk me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Ditto. Right. but I don't know.
But as adults,
you never lay hands on a student. I mean, that's just kind of
not
like
in this
basic.
day and age, right?
Yes. Not even your own child. Like, you
Right.
just not lay hands on kids.
Yeah.
Period. Whether it's on their hands or wrists or even by the collars, because
definitely not by the collar.
yeah, because that's so threatening, right?
Right.
Okay. And here is another divisive issue: having to pay for amenities at a hotel. So you're gonna have to explain.
I'm not talking about like spa treatments. I'm talking about toothbrushes and toothpaste.
What?
Yeah.
Isn't that included in the stay?
Oh, not anymore. So
Oh.
from now on, hotels in South Korea cannot provide disposable items for free. And that's the law that's upon the implementation of the Act on the Promotion of Saving and Recycling of Resources that is now in place. So under the legislation, all lodging facilities that have 50 or more rooms, regardless of where their headquarters are located, so it could be a
Yes.
foreign hotel, they're mandated to stop offering disposable items free of charge, and there will be a 3 million won fine for violators.
Oh.
So that includes toothbrushes, toothpaste, which are now available for purchase.
I don't know about this one.
Yeah, and products like shampoo, conditioner, and body wash will be put in larger dispensers.
Oh, so you can't like.
It's not the tiny. They're no longer the hotel-sized bottles.
So like you won't be able to take them home, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Everybody does,
That's
right?
just theft. Now,
Well-
if you're taking the 2-liter bottle home,
Oh
that's
gosh,
just stealing.
Yeah, that's stealing. Well, as the bill says, it's for the sake of the environment.
Right, so consumers do understand the principle, the intent behind it. It's for resource conservation and safety environment. But then you throw in money, and then we get a split. Because if I'm paying 5-star prices for a 5-star hotel and I still have to pay however they're going to charge me for a toothbrush.
It's kind of the principle of it.
Yeah, then what's 5-star about it?
I don't know.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
because the thing is, room rates are staying the same.
Ah.
They're not even giving me a 10,000 won, 5,000 won deduction
Discount.
for bringing my own toothpaste. So
Okay,
'cause
okay.
customers argue that, well, amenities are included in the room rate, or they were before. If you're not going to offer me the amenities, then shouldn't we at least get the money for the toothbrush taken off? Because
In
in
principle.
Taiwan, and this
On
isn't
principle.
unprecedented, because in Taiwan,
Yes.
hotels do give a 5% discount for rooms that do not include amenities.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
But that's not happening in Korea. So major hotels chains say that given not all guests make use of the amenities, so it would be difficult to offer discounts. Yeah.
Okay,
so
no.
It's their side.
I'm like, no, okay.
Yeah, all right. And then also there are questions as to how effective it would be, because consumers may still buy disposables from convenience stores, which, by the way, are usually located on the site.
That's
Yeah,
true.
so, yeah.
Well, we have Leslie, who just actually came to Korea and
Right,
Busan. So she says they charge for those things at El Deng Hotel at Busan. They had those items in a drawer with a price list. Oh, so she just experienced. I haven't stayed in a hotel in recently, right?
while,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
And she said the shampoo, conditioner, body wash is full bottles, so they refill, which I really like.
Honestly, I do
I like that.
I do like the full bottles, because the
It's a
small-
waste.
Also, I have such long hair, and usually that tiny
not
bottle
enough.
of shampoo is not enough.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So that I like. I really do like that idea. I agree with you, Leslie and Haley. But I don't know about the toothbrush.
I'm saying give me a 5,000 won discount, because I can bring my own toothbrush. But
Yes.
seriously.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
It's on principle. Yes. All right. Next. Oh no, is this about a rabbit? No, I don't want to talk about a rabbit story. Jackson might be listening. All right, so here we go. Next, a rabbit at an animal cafe, not my rabbit, bit off a part of a child's finger, not my rabbit.
So no one was, because someone was hurt, but no one
Yes.
was, fatally hurt. A 2-year-old child had to get a part of his finger reattached because a rabbit, literally and
Bit it
physically
off?
bit it off.
Oh no.
So this happened at an animal cafe in Pohang.
Yes.
The local fire department said that on the afternoon of March 30th, a 2-year-old boy was feeding the rabbit. It was a part of the cafe's program.
Okay.
And it kind of has an open roaming system for some animals, sheep, deer, rabbits, donkeys, and some reptiles. Reptiles are in a cage. But the mammals roam freely, and customers feed them. But the rabbit bit the boy's left index finger off, and the child had to get it reattached. So
This is such a tragic story, but in defense of the animals, the fact that, you just went through a whole list of animals, in my opinion, I don't know, are they even allowed? Should they be put together in a setting?
Right, here's the issue, because I
Right.
have been to raccoon cafes and whatnot, and I did get my legs scratched by a raccoon, and I was
Right.
like, I'm assuming I don't have to go get a rabies shot, but
Right.
still, there are, and I'm a fully grown adult, so if a 2-year-old child, even a rabbit, you think they're completely harmless, but
They're not.
You
Their
know,
teeth-
when they get mad, they get mad.
And their teeth are super sharp. I mean, how do you think they can bite into wood? Like, they have to
Exactly.
gnaw constantly because their teeth are constantly growing.
Right. So, and then,
Right.
2-year-old children, as gentle as they try to be, sometimes they
Right.
just don't understand the concept of gentle. So there's just so
rabbits
many variables.
They're usually prey, so they think anybody or
Right.
anything that approaches them.
They get defensive.
Right. Anyhow, so related to this topic, there are many private zoos and animal cafes that have closed down, but the animals are often left neglected.
Right. So we're staying on the topic of animal protection, but now moving on from that particular cafe.
Okay.
But for instance, in Daegu, there's this indoor zoo, which I don't like those words together to begin with. It stopped operating since November of last year. There are 270 animals, ranging from, keep in mind, this entire place is indoor, lions.
What?
In an indoor zoo, hyenas, monkeys, and so on.
Oh, gosh.
And because of the zoo, because it's not in operation, they haven't paid for any of the bills since they closed down. It just has bare minimum electricity flowing in. By the way, once again, let's reiterate that it was closed from November.
Okay.
Daegu's winters are cold.
Wait. So how are they being fed? Are they being fed?
Barely. Barely. So the lion, according to reports, is inside a glass case and it's injured. It has scars all over its body. It was apparently blankly just staring off into the space. Just least bit from lack of energy. And reports say that some of the animals that are from warmer climates were just basically hugging each other and bundling up with each other, trying to fall asleep.
Makes me
And some
mad.
even showed abnormal behavior, presumably from stress. And the cases continue, for instance, in Kima as well, after its indoor zoo shut down as well.
Well, it really makes me angry when we talk about animals and kids, beings that cannot defend themselves, right? So can't the local government step in and relocate the animals?
This is the problem with the current animal protection law.
Okay.
These are private entities, so animals and pets are considered legal private property. They're property, so they cannot be seized or rescued without consent from the owners.
Okay.
So Kima City had actually asked Cheongju's public zoo, which it does more of conservation work than exhibition, to take the animals and foster them, but the owner of the zoo, the private owner of the zoo in Kime, refused. So Cheongju couldn't do anything about it. So netizens say, rightfully so, neglect is a form of abuse.
I definitely agree.
Especially if you're going to put a lion in a glass case.
Right, and if you're not going to be able to take care of them, then you definitely, you need to give permission, have them be moved.
Right.
You're not making money off them anyways at this point. Okay, and by the way, William, because, an expert, in his own right, he worked in as a animal rescue. I'm sorry, William, I don't know your exact title.
Person.
I'm so sorry. Is it something animal protection officer?
Oh, right.
Yes. Anyhow, he says, tell Haley she cannot get rabies from a scratch, only a bite. So rest assured.
Okay. This was 5 years ago. I'm fine, obviously.
was 5 years
But
ago.
thank you.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
reassuring.
William. Yes, thank
But
you.
here's the thing, though.
Yes.
They have sharp claws. So it's
Right.
just for the protection of the animals, too. There should be a guardian at all times near. In a perfect for every single animal if they're gonna have these indoor facilities.
I don't know. Okay, last bit on this. I kind of understand the dog cafes and maybe the cat cafes, but even that, it's so stressful for the animals.
Right. On
those
principle,
cafes.
I do
Right.
have my thoughts.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for reporting on all the issues, and we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.
And with that, let's take a song break. We need a little breather. This is, I have to do the weather. I almost forgot because you know who's gone. Okay, here's the weather. It is now 8:17, and here's your updated traffic report. There is congestion reported on Gwangan Bridge from Haeundae to Namcheon in lanes 1 and 2, and that congestion continues past the bridge to the Taeyeon intersection. Also, some backup detected on Jungwangdaero from Sojongcheon three-way intersection to Bugok intersection. And lastly, we have traffic congestion detected on Mandakdaero from Sukdeung intersection through Namhae Expressway. And as for the weather, we are continuing that warm streak from yesterday. So it is currently 11 degrees. So it has gone up already 3 degrees, and it's going to go all the way up our daytime high to 21 degrees Celsius under partially cloudy skies. However, the clouds will start rolling in from the afternoon for overcast skies. That's later on in the PM. So once again, we still have a big gap from now, 11 to 21 degrees. So you're going to have to wear layers today. And this was traffic and weather.
I will always remember.
This is 2002 by Anne Marie.
You kissed my lips light as a feather. And it went just like this. No, it's never been better than the summer of 2002. We were only 11, but acting like grown-ups, like we are in the present. Drinking from plastic cups, singing love is forever and never. Well, I guess that was true. Dancing on the hood in the middle of the woods of an old Mustang, where we sang songs with all our childhood friends. And it went like this, say, oops, I got 99 problems singing bye, bye, bye. Hold up, if you wanna go and take a ride with me, better hit me, baby, one more time. Paint a picture for you and me on the days when we were young, singing off the top of both our lungs. Now we're under the covers. Fast forward to 18, we are more than lovers. Yeah, we are all we need when we're holding each other. I'm taken back to 2002. Yeah, dancing on the hood in the middle of the woods of an old Mustang, where we sang songs with all our childhood friends. And it went like this, say, oops, I got 99 problems singing bye, bye, bye. Hold up, if you wanna go and take a ride with me, better hit me, baby, one more time. Paint a picture for you and me on the days when we were young, singing off the top of both our lungs on the day we fell in love. On the day we fell in love. Dancing on the hood in the middle of the woods of an old Mustang, where we sang songs with all our childhood friends. Oh, now, oops, I got 99 problems singing bye, bye, bye. Hold up, if you wanna go and take a ride with me, better hit me, baby, one more time. Paint a picture for you and me on the days when we were young, singing at the top of both our lungs on the day we fell in love. 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 Love, love.
Welcome back, everybody. It's now 8:21 before we get into a special interview. Last time text topic today. What lesser-known dish, local dish from your neck of the woods, your country, your city, would you want to recommend to visitors, someone visiting from out of town, if they came to stay with you, or not literally in your home, but visit you? What would you recommend? But not, I said, remember, no bibimbap or kalbi or samgyeopsal, because those are like the staples, Like, aside from that, what would you recommend? It was the question. Where did I see? Oh, so Taejin Waver says, 삼계탕. 맛있는 것 같아요. 삼계탕. So how do I explain 삼계탕 to non-Korean nationals? Basically, it's like ginseng chicken in this wonderful broth. And it's so good for you. It's like the equivalent of chicken noodle soup without the noodles is the best way to explain it. It's so heartwarming and filling. It's a really, really hearty soup, and there's like rice in there too. So that's something that he would recommend to out-of-towner. We have Kim Sang-hee Waver who says, 순두부요. Oh, 순두부. I haven't thought about that. You know, tofu is becoming, popular worldwide. It's known as being nutritious, relatively speaking, healthy and low in calories. So sundubu is like that soft tofu stew. And nowadays you can depending where you go, you can get it spicy or even non-spicy. I do make a non-spicy for members of my family that can't handle the spice, but that is a good one as well. So I know that, you guys are getting really hungry. Maybe I'm giving you ideas for your lunch menus today. Anyhow, I'll be back with your special interview. For our special interview today, we're going to be tackling this age-old question. As of late, do you want to work a 4-day work week? And maybe you find yourself sitting at your desk, going through the motions of working and kind of counting down the minutes. Are you counting down your minutes? That's kind of sad, isn't it? Not. And then, with the weather and the cherry blossoms out right now, I yesterday, as I was teaching college kids, there were 50 in my class yesterday, and I caught myself looking out the window, wishing I were out there. And I love my students, but it's just that kind of season. And you might be quiet quitting. That's what they call it. A recent survey by Incrude found that every 1 out of 2 employees, that's 50%, in South Korea are quiet quitting and have surprisingly viewed it, kind of in a positive way. So could a shorter work week kind of resolve this issue? Because we don't want people we want people to be happy and working and being productive, right? So this 4-day work week might be, common in other places, not so much here yet. Let's delve into this topic with Mark Bolino, who is the David L. Boren Professor, the Michael F. Price Chair in International Business and Director of the Division of Management and International Business at the University of Oklahoma. That's in the U.S. Let's say hi to him. Hi, welcome to our program.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Yes. So if we can get kind of like a textbook definition first going of what exactly quiet quitting is.
Yeah, so that's part of the problem in terms of textbook definition. I don't think we have a great textbook definition, but I think it usually encompasses 2 things. One is an unwillingness to go above and beyond the call of duty, not doing more than what is technically required of you. And then the second part is sort of a more like a psychological detachment from work, where you're not putting as much emphasis on work in your life, and maybe you're trying to focus on things other than just your work.
Yes. So in other words, is it kind of like doing the bare minimum, kind of coasting?
Exactly. It's like I'm going to do what's technically required of me, but that's it. I'm not going to put in extra hours. I'm not going to volunteer for extra things. I'm there when I need to be there, and I do my, but that's about it.
Well, I would assume that if many people are, exhibiting this, quiet quitting, then it would make for a workplace that's kind of, lacking in morale and enthusiasm. I mean, the vibes at the workplace might be kind of just not vibing.
I would agree with that. I think, my research focuses on why people go above and beyond at work. And there's actually benefits not just for the organization when people go above and beyond, but there's also benefits for workers. People feel more engaged and into their work. So I think a lot of the times we've kind of focused on all the benefits of quiet quitting in terms of giving people more balance, but there is a cost in terms of, when you're not invested at work and you're just going through the motions, then it's also less energizing and rewarding to be at work.
Yes. And so in terms of the percentage of South Korea's workers having engaged in some sort of quiet quitting, it seems like it's pretty high. And maybe you can tell us about the patterns, based on maybe the number of years that you've been in the workforce. Is there a link?
Yeah, and I saw that recent study in South Korea, and like you said, over 50%, I think. There were slight differences. I think, people who'd been 8 to 10% were 57%, and some were a little bit lower. To me, those numbers actually look pretty consistent. I think this is sort of just a general pattern within the workplace right now, and it's not obviously confined just to your country. In the U.S., we're seeing the same sort of thing. A lot of times we talk about engagement, and the company that does a lot of the engagement surveys that you sometimes see, they've now equated quiet quitting and a lack of engagement. And those numbers have been pretty consistent. Like for in the U.S., only about a third of workers are engaged, and so the numbers that were reported in South Korea are similar to what I think we're seeing here. There's some people who are, maybe a third of people or a little bit less who are really into their work, but other people are actively sort of working against the organization, and then about half of people who I would say are sort of these quiet quitters are just sort of going through the motions, along for the ride. They're not necessarily pulling against the company, but they're not really helping to push the organization forward in a positive way.
So why? What are some of the most common reasons for this among generally speaking, among workers? I mean, is it just, a sign of the times, or is there something else that we're not catching?
I think part of it is a sign of the times. I think sort of in the post-pandemic, world,
yes,
that a lot of people have sort of reassessed where work is as a priority in their lives, and people want more things in their life other than work sort of being the central fixture of their lives. So I do think that that's sort of a backdrop for all of this quiet quitting. You see like lying flat in China, and some of these
yes,
different trends that we've seen around the world. So I think the pandemic sort of pushed this, but fundamentally, I think a lot of it is, sort of a dissatisfaction with what's going on in my organization. I know in the survey that was conducted that sort of prompted this, pay dissatisfaction was mentioned, but in general, I think a lack of meaning at work, a lack of fairness at work. It doesn't feel like people are being rewarded for what it is that they're giving to the organization. I think that fundamental fairness, that exchange between employees and employers, is what's really driving this.
It does make sense when you put it that way, but definitely a combination of both. But now I want to focus on this 4-day work week. I mean, could
Sure.
it be a solution to this seemingly growing discontent within the workforce? And you say, obviously, not just here in Korea, but in many countries around the world. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it has a lot of promise. I just don't think it's a panacea. It's not going to solve all of our problems. If I still have a boss that mistreats me, and a lack of meaningful work, and all of these things, pay that isn't fair, the idea that just doing my work in 4 days is going to solve these problems, I just think we may be overstating that sort of idea. So I think it has a lot of promise. I think there are some promising findings about it, but I just want people to also be realistic about, what the actual impact is going to be on employees.
So, I mean, just personally speaking, like if, I was, at a job that I really, wasn't that, happy about. However, if that meant I would have to go in 1 day less, one day less, it might, make me feel a little bit better. But what would it look like if, in terms of the workload and time distribution, if companies were to switch to 4-day work weeks? So traditionally, if we're looking at a 4-day work week, so I would assume that for the same amount of pay, from the employer's perspective, they would want, the said employee to work, longer hours on those 4 days.
Well, that's sort of the key. the studies that are being done and the 4-day work week that's being promoted now in the US, the UK, and some other places does not involve an increase in hours. But it does involve doing the same amount of work in fewer hours. And so a lot of it is about cutting out unnecessary meetings and those sorts of things. So I think for this to work, you have to really be able to find, some efficiencies in the job for people, because the way it's designed to work is that people are still doing the same amount of work. They're just doing that work in 32 hours rather than in 40 hours.
Oh, well, I'm sure more people would get on board with that. If you're not increasing the day with 4-day work weeks.
Not increasing the day. Now, I mean, that would be more consistent with sort of a flexible working schedule where you have Fridays off, but you're working 9 hours on the other days or something like that.
Sure.
The 4-day work week, as it's being promoted now, is not. It's 32 hours. But again, the catch is that they're also saying it's 100% the same pay, 100% the same workload.
Yes.
And just fewer hours. And so the question is that feasible?
Right. I mean, people are already texting and saying like, they're all for that. But how does this growing push for a system like this? I mean, is there a push? Is there a movement for more of this type of, this 4-day work week? I mean, I would assume not for all industries, but at least for industries where it is feasible. Is there kind of a move to work towards this at all?
I think you certainly are seeing more politicians and lawmakers here in the U.S., more business people talking about it. There were some hearings in the U.S. on legislation about this. Different states in the United States are looking at it. The UK's had that a big experiment with about 70 companies involved. So yes, there's certainly more traction. I think in Germany, Italy, Spain, they're also doing some of these kinds of experiments. So it's certainly getting much more attention than it ever has in the past.
And once again, going back to this whole kind of reassessment of life, especially during the pandemic, do you think that people will continue on this kind of path where it definitely kind of was like a reset for many, many people? Like, I need to prioritize. Yes, work is important, but, my personal life, my family, my personal time is actually more valuable to me. Do you think that this is a trend that's not going to go away? It's here to stay.
I think it is here to stay. I think people are more inclined to sort of push for these changes. At the same time, I also think part of it depends on what the labor market looks like in a particular country or region or industry. Because, for example, here in the U.S., in a lot of places, it's been difficult to find workers, and that has given workers more leverage to call for things like better pay, 4-day work week, hybrid work arrangements, those sorts of things. And the question is, when things get, more in favor of organizations and maybe the labor market isn't so tight, then will companies sort of pull back on those sorts of perks and maybe demand more from their employees?
And for a final question for you today, Professor, do you have any examples of any country or company that have been successful in kind of curbing this quiet quitting phenomenon, or, implementing a 4-day work week to kind of satisfy what their employees are seeking? Any examples?
I can't give you a specific example, but I will tell you that in the UK, most of the companies that participated in that initial experiment was supposed to be 6 months, and then they extended it to a year, and now it's been a year, and most of those companies are sticking with that 4-day work week. So it has been successful, and they've reported, better productivity and health and job attitudes and all of those sorts of things. I think more generally, if I'm trying to curb sort of the quiet quitting, trend.
Yes.
need to be talking to my employees, my workers, about what they think the best solution would be. I think for some people that might be a 4-day work week, but for others it could simply be more pay. It could be more flexibility. It could be more meaningful work. It could be finding extra ways or ways to go beyond the call of duty that sort of play to my strengths and my interests. You know, maybe I can't work after hours, but I could be, you know, someone who helps new employees get oriented to the company or help with onboarding or those sorts of things. So I think finding ways to make the work experience more meaningful for my employees, however they define that, is how I would be trying to approach this, rather than just assuming, oh, if I do the 4-day work week, I'm going to solve this problem. Because as you mentioned also, you know, there are hourly workers who a 4-day work week might not really work for them.
Right.
You know, fewer hours means less pay in those cases. So the way it can be applied, it has some natural limits to it.
What a great idea, though. If only the employers would ask. I mean, that would definitely, we would be moving towards a more palatable solution for everybody. But of course, it depends on the company and I guess where you're from. But thank you so much for joining us today for our discussion on the 4-day work week and also quiet quitting. We do appreciate your expertise.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Everybody, this was Professor Mark Bolino, and things he said, but what he said at the end, I mean, for employers to actually ask from its employees, what is it that you're seeking? What would give you better fulfillment? And maybe it's not necessarily this 4-day week, but for many, I think, it would be, thumbs up on that, assuming that the pay is the same and you wouldn't have to work the extra hours. But even like finding more meaning in your work, being fulfilled in different ways, having different tasks that would maybe challenge you even more, that might also be key too. So as he said, great interview. And let's take a short song break. Here it is. This is 회사는 가야지 by 하상욱.
회사는 가야지 먹고는 살아야지 금요일인 줄 알았는데 오늘이 목요일이라니 얼른 나가야지 지각은 안 해야지 요즘 지각을 많이 해서 팀장님 눈초리가 무서워 어쩌겠어 야근했어도 시켰어도 지각은 안 되니 쉬고 싶은데 일이 많아서 주말도 나올 판 내가 없으면 회사가 안 돌아갈까봐 걱정인 게 아냐 그런 게 아냐 내가 없어도 회사가 잘 돌아갈까봐 걱정인 거야 불안한 거야 회사는 가야지 먹고는 살아야지 이제 주말인 것 같은데 내일이 월요일이라니 얼른 잠자야지 낮에 안 졸아야지 점심 먹고 자꾸 졸아서 팀장님 눈초리가 무서워 어쩌겠어 야근했어도 시켰어도 조는 건 안 되니 딱 하루만 쉬고 싶은데 일이 많아서 휴가도 못 쓸 판 내가 없으면 회사가 안 돌아갈까봐 걱정인 게 아냐 그런 게 아냐 내가 없어도 회사가 잘 돌아갈까봐 걱정인 거야 불안한 거야 슬퍼도 가야지 아파도 가야지 무조건 일요일인 줄 알았는데 오늘이 목요일이라니 얼른 나가야지 지각은 안 해야지 요즘 지각을 많이 해서 긴장 있는 토리가 무서워 회사는 가야지 먹고는 살아야지 이제 주말인 것 같은데 매일이 월요일이라니 얼른 잠자야지 낮에 안 졸아야지 점심 먹고 자꾸 졸아서 긴장 있는 토리가 무서워 가야지 슬퍼도 가야지 아파도 가야지 회사는 가야
You're now listening to the world's most reliable morning show, Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Text in to BEFM # 9050 for 101. You can also reach us for free through our YouTube live stream or on Kakao Talk. Begin your morning with Catherine, and don't forget to reboot your day after lunch. Stay tuned for Steve Hatherley Reboot every day from 2 to 4 p.m.
It's time for The Health with Bonnie.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hi.
I wish we had time for chit-chat and to talk about all the beautiful flowers outside. But we're going to dive into our segment because I want to get to it. What are we talking about today?
So today, I wanted to talk about something. I actually did this practice this past weekend, and I loved it. It was so amazing. So I wanted to share with all of our listeners. Because this is called Yoga Nidra.
Yoga Nidra.
Yes, it's a different type of Nidra, different type of yoga than what people are used to. And this type of yoga is designed to kind of put you into a really deep state of relaxation and calm, and it involves no movement. So really easy.
I need
for
this.
beginners, advanced, whatever kind of style of yoga you are used to. This is for everybody.
So it's not just sleeping.
No, and actually a lot of people do fall asleep. And if you fall asleep during this, then you really needed this. Maybe you really need that sleep.
Does the instructor wake you up?
Sleeping is okay. No, sleeping is
They don't, like,
totally
kick you
fine.
up
No.
to get up.
Actually, someone did fall asleep during this practice when I did it. And
Really?
They snored, but they woke themselves up with the snore. So they came back. But it's very common for people to fall asleep during this. But that's not the point of the practice, but it does happen. But the goal of the whole practice is to get to this deep state of conscious awareness sleep. So it's a structured practice. There's the teacher that's leading you through the whole thing, that's guiding you, and you kind of move through one stage to another, and you're kind of getting to this dreamlike state, but you're not falling fully asleep. So you're still conscious, but your mind and body kind of get to this state where
I have to try this.
You're in like a dream-like state.
Okay.
It's for intense relaxation. So you can kind of think of it as like a power nap, but you're
not
getting
actually sleeping,
but
but getting the restful benefits?
Yeah. So maybe you can think of it like a 3-hour sleep, but you're getting it within kind of like a 45-minute, hour-long class, whatever, how long your class you're doing, but you're getting to that deep state within that time. So the teacher is like your guide trying to get you there.
Okay.
So there are about 10 steps to the practice, and I won't go through all of them in detail, but some of them include setting an intention, realizing why you're there, thinking about why you're doing this practice, and maybe you really need some energy. Like I said, it's kind of like taking a power nap. So maybe you're doing it because you're feeling really fatigued. Maybe you're feeling really exhausted. You need like an energy boost. Or you just want to practice some self-care. Maybe you just want to have a little reset, or you want a little bit more of a deep kind of rest. Maybe you're having trouble sleeping at night. So this can help you. I had the best sleep after I did this practice. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So maybe you're doing it because of that. Some other steps in the practice are kind of like a body scan, thinking about parts of the body and kind of tapping into how you're feeling. So it enables you to really release tension in those parts of the body.
Okay.
You're also focusing on your breath, focusing on how you're feeling. And then you'll be asked to think about different things, certain things. So this is what keeps your mind awake because you're having to focus on these things. But let's do like a little example here. So if I were to say like, think about a pineapple.
A pineapple.
And I said nothing else afterwards. You're thinking of the pineapple and then your mind kind of goes away with you. You might be thinking of the last time you had a pineapple. Maybe you're thinking about you don't like pineapple. Maybe why you don't like pineapple. Or maybe you're thinking about you want to eat pineapple. Where am I going to buy the pineapple next? So your mind kind of goes into all these, and then maybe it'll go into something else and you start thinking of all these things.
Right.
But if I said, think about a pineapple, now think about an apple. Now think about a tree. Now think about a squirrel. Your mind is having to focus on each one of those things. So your mind's not kind of running away with you. But those things are kind of boring, right? It doesn't give you enough time to let your mind wander, but it also doesn't give you enough time to kind of fall asleep.
I get it.
So your mind is jumping from thing to thing. So you're consciously still awake, but it gets you kind of into this deep state of just nothing. Your
Like
mind
Zen
and body.
almost?
Yeah. But you're like a meditation, you can kind of think of it as a meditation,
yeah.
but meditation, you're trying to release yourself of thoughts.
Yes.
Right. And so when thoughts come in, you shoo them away. But these ones, you're not welcoming in thoughts, but your mind is focused on one thing. So you don't have time.
Is like bringing up and,
Yeah.
and saying.
So you don't have time to think about all these other things, but because you're focused on one thing and the next and the next, it enables your body to deeply go into the state of rest, but your mind is still awake.
Okay.
It's really, really interesting. So there are lots of benefits to this practice too, not just getting a good power nap in. But if we think about meditation and compare it to that, meditation gets us to a theta state.
Okay.
So kind of a waking state of consciousness. But yoga nidra takes you one step deeper into a delta state.
Okay.
And delta state is the deepest part of that sleep cycle, and we call it the deep healing state. So where the body can really heal itself. So that's where we're trying to get to with this yoga nidra. It's a conscious kind of awake, but your mind and body is at rest.
Okay.
So this also activates the pineal gland, which releases melatonin. And we usually hear melatonin in helping with sleep, but melatonin also has a lot of other benefits. It's a powerful antioxidant. It helps manage your immunity, blood pressure, and cortisol levels. So this is really, really great for anybody who wants to kind of boost their immunity, lower your blood pressure, or has kind of stress or anxiety. This is really great for you. A recent study actually also showed that comparing meditation and yoga nidra, they're both effective in reducing anxiety, but yoga nidra was proven to be more effective and can be a useful tool in actually reducing cognitive and physiological symptoms of anxiety.
Oh, even more so than meditation.
Yeah. And so this is something that you can do on your own, but you can do as a class as well, because it's easier when someone is kind of leading you through it.
I would think,
Yes.
right. Yes.
So some tips for how to practice yoga nidra. It might not be as easy as you think. You're like, oh, I just lay down, right? That's
And then
it.
think of stuff.
Yeah, and
one
I just
at a
have to think
time.
of things. But this takes practice just like anything else, because our listeners probably know it's hard to quiet the mind. It's hard to kind of think of nothing. It's hard to kind of get into that relaxation state.
Yes.
Because even though you're being guided, sometimes your mind will go away from you.
So many
right?
distractions. Yes.
So this is recommended to be doing in a dark space, kind of away from the distractions. So
Okay.
get your phone away, maybe in a quiet space, maybe during a time of day when you don't have a lot of outside noise. Also having a blanket handy, maybe like a pillow or some sort of like meditation bolster is nice to have. So anywhere that any situation where you can get yourself to be as most comfortable as you physically can. Blanket also, because your body, when it's at rest, tends to kind of cool down and be cooler. So have that blanket handy. You want to be lying down for this practice, but if that's uncomfortable for you, you can also do this in a bed, or you can do it in a recliner, on a couch. Like I said, anywhere you can be the most comfortable. And you can start off with short sessions, maybe 15, 20 minutes, and you can kind of work your way up to a 45-minute, 60-minute practice. So when I did it, it was a 45-minute practice, but I felt like it was 15 minutes.
Oh, really?
Like I went really, really deep, and I kind of felt like I was sleeping, but I could hear this voice in the background.
Yes, yes.
And then I kind of woke up kind of at the end. But I didn't feel like I ever fell fully asleep. I was still conscious and awake.
And how did you feel after though? Like, did you feel refreshed? Or
Yeah, like exactly. Like I felt like I'm not a napper.
Okay.
I actually hate naps, but I felt like this is the kind of nap I want. Like it was guided, so I feel like I was slowly taken out of it, and I was refreshed, and I just felt like after you get a good night's sleep, that's what I felt like. But it was within a 45-minute time period span.
So how can we practice this? I mean, for those of us who are new to this yoga nidra, or maybe are not near any type of studio that practices this, I mean.
Yeah, so you can actually find videos online.
Okay.
You can search for this, and you can find them online where people will guide you through it. Or if any kind of streaming tool that you have.
Yes.
If you can also search yoga nidra, and they will have guides on there that you can do this. But if you're interested in taking a class in person, there is a studio in town that does it in English.
Oh, in English.
Yes.
Ooh.
So we'll make sure to get that information out to you guys. If you want, we can put it on the website.
Yes, we will put it on our Morning Wave in Busan website. So for those of you who are interested, for the one in particular, because it does it in English. Yes. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's really nice when someone guides you through it, because really all you have to do then is just lay down
and follow along, follow the voice.
And you might
I
fall
can do
asleep,
that.
and that's okay. That means your body really needed that sleep. But the point of it is to get into that deep state of conscious sleep. So if you haven't done it, I really recommend it. Maybe like 2-3 times, try it. And if you're having trouble falling asleep, or maybe you're not getting great sleep, this is a great practice for those of you who are struggling with that.
I'm so interested. My interest has been piqued.
Yeah. So maybe other types of yoga are not for you, but maybe this one will be.
Right. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. For those of you who are wondering, Nidra is Nidra, if you want to look it up.
Yes.
If you want to look at some videos. So thank you so much, Bonnie, for bringing this to our attention.
Hope you guys have a restful day.
Yes. Everybody, this was The Health, and it's time to wrap things up for it today. And whether you're practicing yoga nidra or out enjoying the cherry blossoms while they're still around, I do hope you have a wonderful day today. Final song is Dream a Little Dream by Laura Fiji. So have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you miss me. While I'm alone and blue as can be, dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear. Still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear. Just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams will leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they'll be, dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear. Still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear. Just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find